welcome back to the Car Podcast. In today's video, we're going to be going over the story time and when I went to a stranger's divorce party. The story looks very different than what you're probably thinking. You're probably thinking I went to the bar, I had a few drinks, and then I made my way around the social circle, and eventually I just got my way into a divorce party. No. It happened very different. I decided to take Benji on a hike. I haven't done a ton of hikes with Benji, but I've done enough to gear him up for this hike. But it was 85-degree heat. It was early in the morning. I had my AirPods in, and we were just on this uphill trek. It was quite a big excursion for a 6 to 8 pound dog that not only wears sweaters 6 months out of the year because he was raised in Michigan. So 85-degree heat, we make it halfway up to the observatory, and Benji just refuses to walk. Thank God I bring a backpack and everything where I could carry him up, because he was just refusing to even go up at this point. So I stopped for a little and I started to just give him water and put him in his backpack or whatever. So there was a stranger behind me that actually stopped at the same place, and he was taking pictures, he was admiring the view, whatnot, whatever. So by the time I start to go up the staircase, I guess the guy decides to follow me up the staircase because he's on the same hiking trail. He's like, "You must not be from around here." And I think he said that because Benji's in the backpack just hassling, the dog is acting he's dying essentially. He basically walked the whole hike with me at that point, having a full-on conversation. It never was stagnant. There wasn't a moment of silence. So it was a pretty genuine, good conversation. But the funny thing about it is this guy is 13, 14 years older than me. So the same, friend group that he has, or social circle that he talks to, is definitely a lot different than mine. So towards the end of the conversation, I was just kind of asking him what bring him into town. He actually was a guy from New York. He lived in California for his whole childhood essentially, and he just decided, New York's his dream place. He decided to just pack his shit up and move to New York, which I really admire that. But he said he was in town for his best friend's divorce party, and right before I left, he's like, "You know what?" He's like, "I think it'd be good for you to make connections and network if you come to this divorce party." And in the back of my head, I'm like, there is no way in HE double hockey stick that I'm just gonna go to some random person's divorce party, a guy that's 14 years older than me. So these people are probably in a totally different state of mind, in a totally different phase of their life. It didn't really seem in my best interest, but for some reason something just clicked, and he sent me the details, and I just decided to show up. And I showed up, and it was at a really bougie restaurant. I valet parked my car, charged me $30, and then I got a free round of drinks essentially. I got in there was a group of people. The guy that was getting divorced introduced himself to me. For me, getting free $25 cocktails wasn't really my forte, because I think I'm not used to it. Most of the time when I've went on dates, or I've just had really bad luck with guys, I guess I should say, I've never really properly been taken somewhere super nice and everything was paid for me. I feel every single nice date I ever went on, it was "Oh, you can pay for half." Speaking of which, actually I went on a date. I drove an hour to an hour and a half, really far out essentially. The guy has the balls, or the audacity, to look at me and be like, "Oh yeah, if you don't mind paying for half of it, I'd really appreciate that." In my head, I'm like, you have the audacity. I just wasted $80 on gas to get here, and now you want me to pay for half my meal, and this is a date? Come on. I don't know. But I guess I'm just trying to say that it's not something I'm used to. I'm not used to someone buying all my drinks, or buying me things. It's not something I'm used to, besides my family when I was growing up, when they would buy my meals and whatnot. But whatever, cheesy. But the goal was, going into it, I was just gonna have a drink or two. I was gonna buy the drinks, and then I was just gonna part my ways. I just kind of wanted to see what it was about. At that point, I had really gotten intrigued with the conversations that I was listening to, and the type of caliber of people that I was surrounding myself with, that I didn't want to leave, the conversations were so juicy to the point I was like, this is insane. I'll give you an example. The guy that was getting divorced, he was going on a massive rant about how they didn't know who was going to have the third house, that like they didn't know how to split it evenly, if they were going to sell it, if one of them was going to like keep it or lease it out, or basically they were trying to decide who got the third house. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, the way I was raised, the way I was brought up, and I think it's just a massive achievement to even like have a house. Like that's such a big goal of mine. So to sit here and hear someone complain about not knowing who the third house goes to was like, okay, these people are like well off. These people like have money. Like, if you're talking about having arguments over, like, a third house, like, holy cow, I want to be in your shoes. It was very, like, mind-boggling. Other things that were, like, talked about was, like, apparently his wife bought them a bunch of, like, Rolexes, and they would, like, share them or whatnot, and then he had a bunch of Rolexes that he bought for himself, and he bought her some. Moral of the story, they were, like, trying to divide the Rolexes, and he said that, like, the wife wanted, like, 6 to 8 of them, and then he was only going to be left with, like, 3, and he was, like, so angry about that. Like, he was pissed. He's like, I can't believe her. She gets the kids, and then she gets, like, all these Rolexes, and I'm over here, you know, with only walking away with, like, 3 or 4, like, you know, 6 max if I really wanted to, but I'm not gonna have that argument. He was just, like, going on a rant. After the second or third drink, they were already, like, well off, and I guess everyone had agreed that they wanted to go and get dinner because the appetizers there weren't doing them justice. We're talking like appetizers like steak tacos, we're talking about mini little sushi rolls. I don't know, like for me, I think the amount of appetizers these people went through, I would be full. So we went to a sushi spot, and this is where like the whole story just kind of like got chaotic. It went from this guy complaining about his problems to just like sobbing his eyes out and saying how terrible of a human being he was. And I almost was like embarrassed to be a part of it, and I almost was like, okay, I think this is my signal to go. Like banging his fists on the tables, just like crying. It was an experience for sure. But that about wraps it up as far as the divorce party goes. It was eye-opening. It was interesting. It was fun. I never in a million years thought I would go and hang out with a stranger I met on like the first day, and I never in a million years thought I'd be invited to a divorce party, and I never in a million years thought that a divorce party would be a thing and I'd actually be at one, you know? The second topic I'm going to be talking about, I'm kind of asking for like a perspective. Here's the story, essentially. We're talking about like acquaintances. Like, have you ever had an acquaintance that has given out your phone number to someone else without asking you first if it was okay to give out the phone number? I just feel uneasy and I don't feel good about it, and I know I'm like dragging this out, but essentially there was a coworker that asked one of my coworkers if they could have my number. And yeah, this might be normal if you're like swapping shifts, but they're not even in the same job title. Like, they're doing something totally different than me. So like, there is no reason for this person to have my phone number. And the coworker that gave it out, I'm actually friends with. Like, I went to a few outings with them, and this guy that asked for my phone number was in that same group. But the difference is, never once did we have like a fluent conversation. Never once did we like talk at all. He was just there and I was just there. It was just like a mutual kind of thing, if that makes sense. When it goes to like giving out someone's number, there should be like a mutual want to like exchange numbers. I feel like if you don't really want to communicate with someone, you should be able to like not feel obligated to have your phone number given out to them. That being said, I'm coming from like an understanding perspective, and I'm like, okay, I'm not a celebrity, and so it's harder for me to be like, oh, well, I don't want their number, so I shouldn't have to associate with them. Like, I feel like that's really petty for me to say. I guess the thing I'm trying to say is that I wish from this situation or scenario that the guy maybe asked me if it was okay to give away my phone number, and then he would tell the guy politely that, hey, maybe you should try asking her for her number first. Have you tried that? Because moral of the story, I think the guy was just trying to hit on me, or that's what he's doing, because like inside of his text message to me, all it was is like, hey, how was your day? And I'm just like, I don't want to tell you how my day was. I don't want to know how your day was. I just want you to leave me alone. But I know you can't really say that because that is really petty, and maybe I should give the guy a chance, but it's like, no! If you don't have the balls to ask for my phone number, you shouldn't have my phone number. And then, like, there's nothing even relevant you're trying to talk to me about. Dude, just stop. Give it a break, man. Give it a break, okay? Like, go on a dating app or something, but, like, leave me alone, okay? Hopefully that's not too cruel for me to say, and I apologize if, like, the guy that I'm talking about is watching this video, but I really hope not. I don't think so. I do apologize. It's just, it makes me uneasy. I wish you either, like, would have asked, you know, him if it was okay. Maybe they did. I don't know. So normally I have another topic that I tell you that I want to talk about in the next episode, but if we're being completely honest right now for the next in the Car Podcast, I really don't have an idea for you guys. So whatever shit hits me in the next week, I will definitely talk about. But if you enjoy these type of videos and you want to see more, definitely give this video a big thumbs up. It means a lot. It shows support. I will leave my links listed on the screen for you guys if you want to check me out on Instagram or Snapchat or Twitter when I'm not here on YouTube. But I love you guys. I appreciate you guys, and I look forward to seeing you on next week's podcast. If you want to see it, you better thumbs it up. If you want to see another one, alright? You hear me? Hear me out? You hear me? Alright, cool. That's all I can say. Bye.